What is up, guys? It is the Blue Bloods here with a very late episode. It's like 11 o'clock Central Time, so I know you East Coast people probably won't catch this till in the morning. But one of the biggest games of the week just wrapped up there in Minnesota, in which the number 4 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes get the huge opening conference win over the Minnesota Golden Gophers, and it was one heck of a game. You look at what Minnesota did, though, man. They had the lead going into halftime after being down 10-0, but in the second half, unfortunately, Mo Ibrahim goes down with a pretty significant injury. There's reports coming out. I'm not going to confirm anything. I'm not a doctor, but there's a lot of reports coming out of the Minnesota circles that it could be an Achilles rupture, which would probably end his season. So I just wanted to start this episode off by saying I wish Mo Ibrahim the best in his recovery, because I know that is a future NFL running back there. And we're going to talk about his performance in just a minute. I want to get to my initial takeaways of this Ohio State game, and I really feel like they did exactly what I said the key to the game was going to be for them, which was don't do anything too complicated. Don't put CJ Stroud in any type of position. Don't make it too complicated on them. The thing I said to do was just keep it simple. And what you have to do is just get the ball into your playmakers' hands. That's all you have to do. Just get the ball to your just ridiculous core of wide receivers. Get it to Chris Olave, get it to Garrett Wilson, and then also just get the offensive line to protect them, which they did. They kept them clean all night, and CJ Stroud struggled a little bit early, was a little bit inefficient in the first half, had that big interception in which it was like a little high and he got tipped up and the safety came down under it. But in the second half, 4 touchdowns, over 200 yards passing in the second half. And what they did in the second half is they didn't make it complicated. They said, okay, we're going to bring Chris Olave all the way across the field. Minnesota didn't keep up with him. He dropped it in over the defender's head, and he takes off for a touchdown. Then you see the screen pass to Travion Henderson, in which he explodes, saw a crease in the secondary, hit it, and he was gone. I just want to say Travion Henderson looks like the real deal for Ohio State. If you're looking for someone who I'm so excited for out of this game, is Travion Henderson. That guy is the truth. And when you look at, what they did with Olave, I mean, he had 4 catches, 117 and 2 touchdowns. I came into our Big Ten preview. In my opinion, he's the best wide receiver in the country, and it just confirmed it. His body awareness, not only in terms of body positioning for the catch, but also running up the sideline, knowing exactly where he is at all times, and being able to view the field at such a quick speed is really what just makes me love what Chris Olave does. And so I thought he was a big takeaway. And before we get to CJ Stroud's performance, I do want to say for Minnesota, I thought Tanner Morgan played fine. You could tell the early strategy for Minnesota was to run the football. They were going to establish the run, and then if the pass came, it came. And you saw once Mo Ibrahim went down, Tanner Morgan came more the focal point of the offense, had a pretty efficient night, 200 yards passing, a touchdown, no interceptions. He got strip sacked, which we'll get to that in a second too. Mo Ibrahim, though, man, 30 carries, 163, and 2 touchdowns. And I was so impressed with Minnesota and how they were able to establish the line of scrimmage in the run game. Even if they had 1 or 2 runs that was only a handful of yards here or there, they kept hammering away. And what they did was they just kept breaking down that D line. And I thought if Mo Ibrahim would have stayed in the game, this could have been an even closer game than it was. Once he went down, you could kind of tell the energy of that team was different. But I thought Mo Ibrahim played well. I thought the offensive line in terms of run blocking played well. The pass protection was a little iffy. You saw that huge strip sack, which Haskell Garrett took to the house. But other than that, they allowed some pressure, but I thought they held up pretty well considering how talented I think this Ohio State defensive line really is. I thought the linebacker play for Ohio State could have been a little bit better. But overall, I thought Minnesota did fine. It really, this topic is supposed to be what went wrong for Minnesota. I really think their defense just got worn out thin. I don't think they had the depth in the secondary to really keep up down the stretch. When you look at how deep that wide receiving room is for Ohio State, I just don't think Minnesota had the bodies to go four quarters with that unit. They did great in the first half in limiting that offense. They did okay until the third quarter, but then you could just tell as the game wore on and their offense became just a little bit more inefficient that they just got worn down. And that's when Ohio State's athleticism and those weapons really made their mark. So I feel like it was a story of not enough depth in the secondary. But I want to end on a positive note for Minnesota. This game to me, especially in the first 2.5, maybe 3 quarters, proved that this program is closer to what they put out in 2019 than it was in 2020. This is going to be a real team to compete in their division in the Big Ten. I don't think they're going to be a pushover, and I think this is going to be a very competitive team moving forward into the 2021 season. Now for CJ Stroud, though, I thought in the first half, he especially after the interception, he looked a little bit rattled. But then I feel like once he noticed, like, okay, as long as I just get the ball to a Chris Olave, a Garrett Wilson, a Travion Henderson, I get the ball in Jackson Smith's hands. They can go make the plays. I don't have to force anything. I don't have to rush things. You could tell he got a little bit uncomfortable in the pocket early, but I was looking at Twitter before I came on, trying to get a little bit of preliminary research done, and I saw a lot of Ohio State fans critical of his performance. I thought this was an outstanding performance because when you look at Justin Fields' first start, when you look at Dwayne Haskins' first start, yes, they put up similar stats, but I don't think either of them had a tougher matchup in their first game where they had to go out there and perform like CJ Stroud did. They weren't on the road against a real conference contender in a year where fans were just pumped to get back in the stadium after being held out last year, along with some questions on the defense and a new offense, and there's some talented guys behind you. I thought he had all the pressure in the world on him to perform, and for him to go out, throw for almost 300 yards, 4 touchdowns, only make one really big mistake in which he threw it just like an inch too high, and it unfortunately got tipped. I thought he played really, really well. I would probably, for me, I would give it a B+ and A- performance, which is great for your first start on the road with the weather raining, with the crowd pumped, with everything going on, and especially because the biggest thing for me is when he threw that interception, I wanted to see how he would respond to that. Would he get down on himself? Would he look a little shaken in that environment? He looked shaken for about a drive, and then it was back to business, and he hit Chris Olave for a huge touchdown. I thought CJ Stroud was fine this week. I think it took it, like I believe Ryan Day said in the post-game interview, it just took him a minute to hit the rhythm. I mean, this was some of his first ever action at Ohio State as the first string quarterback. You can't just expect him to go out there on the first drive on the road in an environment like this in week 1 and perform perfectly. He made his freshman mistakes or his first year starting mistakes, but then you could tell toward the end of the game he had that rhythm, his confidence was up, and then he just started making big throws. And I know a lot of people are going to say all he did was distribute the ball. That's all you have to do. I said on the podcast, on our preview show, you can go back and check, all he had to do was be Rajon Rondo. Just distribute the basketball, or in this case, the football. We don't need you to go out there and score 30, 40 points. We just need you to have a bunch of assists. And that's what he did in the second half. And that's why Ohio State won this game. And, moving forward for both of these teams, Ohio State next week, we're going to find out, Ohio State to me probably has the 2 hardest games to open up a season. They, with Oregon coming into Columbus next week, with that front 7, with that secondary, with that running game and offensive line, and that wide receiving core, it's going to be a much tougher test than it was this week. Luckily, it's in Columbus at 11 a.m. You're going to have the advantage in terms of all that. But for me, Ohio State's true test starts next week. And for them to come out in the second half and really command this game and put it in their terms and play this game how they wanted in the second half was a huge statement for CJ Stroud, this defense, and Ryan Day. I was just so impressed with Ohio State in the second half. And for Minnesota, losing Mo Ibrahim is the worst thing that could have happened, man. That was the heart and soul of that offense. And now we're going to find out if Tanner Morgan can carry this offense, in terms of being the focal point. Because I feel like with the Minnesota PJ Fleck team, it's always run first. And for me, now it's going to have to be, can Tanner Morgan be the 2019 version and find some playmakers? I thought they had some wide receivers that really emerged. I like Daniel Jackson for one, sophomore out of Kansas City. And then also, I'm blanking on his name real quick. Wright, number 16. Dylan Wright was one of the guys that flashed me, a sophomore out of Mesquite, Texas. I thought both of those guys are going to be the number 1 and 2 wide receivers. Alden Bell was out this game. When he comes back, I think they could have a very nice wide receiving core, and it's going to be interesting who steps up in the running back room for the Golden Gophers. They get Miami of Ohio next week. That's a winnable game. That's a great chance to see what this offense is going to be like with Mo Ibrahim before you get into conference play. But guys, appreciate if y'all tuned in tonight. I know it's late all over the country for this game, but I wanted to bring a recap ASAP. Make sure if you're new to please hit that subscribe button. Go check out our week 1 previews. We got recaps coming all the rest of the week. We got some previews coming tomorrow as well. But please subscribe, like the video, man. Share it with your friends, family, Facebook groups, Twitter groups, anything like that. But guys, Ohio State gets a huge win on the road tonight, 45-31 over Minnesota. But guys, for right now, the Blue Bloods are out.